Tobias, thank you so much for joining us at Super Return International. You're here to talk fundamentally about your core fund thesis. What would you describe that as?
Yeah, so the fund thesis describes basically what's your worldview in investing terms. No? So we look at a certain development over the next 10 years and where M&A markets or exit opportunities probably evolve for your investments, and then we adapt an investment strategy towards that goal. And for us, we clearly see a shift from a more consumer-centric startup ecosystem into a more industrial enterprise-centric ecosystem. And hence we assume that in the next 10 years there will be big corporates, industrial groups be the main purchasers of venture-backed companies. And that's really the trend that we would like to capitalize on as a firm.
How quickly is that happening? Because there has been a resistance to that sort of change, but is it inevitable? And if so, how quickly is it going to happen?
I think the resistance part has been quite long, and I think since 2008, 9, 10, we were talking a lot about this, but it's only really like recently that we see actual M&A figures going up, and we have real proof of companies buying venture-backed companies, not only for the sake of their earnings and the sort of traditional metrics, but also for the sake of acquiring talent and build technology to incorporate in their new practices. And that's a new trend, and it's a very important trend for venture capital.
What are your key fundamentals to finding the companies themselves that this is going to work in? What do you look for? Yeah. What's at the nub of it?
So we call ourselves a post-seed focused fund. So we're not investing into the idea or a team that eventually will build up something. We're investing at the first type of product market fit prototype, I would say. So they're typically customers, they are paying customers already. We can do commercial due diligence on some of the customers, and we can already see a trajectory of that company, and we're financing the sales and distribution exercises.
At that stage, what are green flags for you and what are red flags?
So green flags are mostly positive customer feedback, I would say. I mean, convincing a key customer to enter into a long-term contractual relationship with a startup is quite a big sign. For us, it's enough if this is just a handful of people who've done it, but it tells the story that people looked into this, there's a need for the technology, and they want to move this forward. I think another green flag is really domain expertise amongst the founding partners or the founding team of a startup. We really like technology that comes from a different environment where there has been a clear observation of a market trend or a market need or the problem which has not been solved yet. And these are very much green flags for us. Red flags are quite a few, to be honest. I mean, the red flags are dominant if you look at companies, no? And you pass on a lot of opportunities, much more than you actually go ahead with, but I wouldn't even be able to pinpoint one specific one, but I think immature businesses is probably the biggest test that we do. No? Is it the stage that we feel comfortable with? Is it really post-seed, or is there still a lot of development work to be done, and then it's probably not for us?
There's a lot of conversations going on at this conference this year about tech. Some describe it as a disruptor, some say it's a transformer, and how the world will change. There'll be a fifth revolution, if you like, an information revolution. And is this sort of easy to say, and it's going to take a lot of time for this to evolve, or is this, imminent?
I think it's definitely imminent. I mean, it's already happening without most of the people here knowing. No? So I think if you look at connectivity and how we are all kind of patched together, that's not just happening in your pocket with your iPhone, it's also happening at the factory floor or big construction sites or big industrial groups. I mean, sensors are everywhere now. The cloud infrastructure has supercomputing power that makes it possible to really compute unbelievable amounts of data, and there are new revenue models, new business models just coming out of this trend. The increased connectivity, sensors everywhere, and then the ability to absorb and to process that data. And so we see, from an investment point of view, an interesting trend, which is very capital efficient because it's just data. It's a digital good, no? So you can distribute that insight or that product or that analytical piece to any customer worldwide at no incremental cost, and that's really, I think, what is the interesting part of this investment into this revolution or into this fifth sector, as you call it.
So what conversations are you hoping to have here at Super Return? Because it's quite a unique environment, having sort of 2,000 people here from all over the world. It's a unique opportunity to have those meetings and conversations.
Absolutely. So I think, I mean, our interest in the conference is really to get in contact with more institutional type investors. No? So venture capital has been quite underfunded in the last 10 years in Europe specifically, and the main source of funds have been government institutions or family offices or high net worth individuals. And it's only just about that insurance companies, pension plans, and more classical limited partners, as we call them, come back to venture markets in Europe. And so for us, we're a young firm. We are probably just about to enter into their radar or onto their kind of screening process, but we want to build relationships and long-term relationships, whether it be for our first fund or the second or the third. But this is very much a people-driven business, and these relationships, they tend to take a very long time to establish, and so we take a really long-term approach, and this is probably the best place to meet institutional investors even in the world. And so that's why we're here, and that's why we take it very seriously.
And on the macro level, there's so much going on geopolitically in the world. Yes. It's good to come together and just take stock together, isn't it?
Yeah, so no, that's true. I mean, I think what is true for the digital economy, as I want to call it, it's a very free market trade oriented economy. There are no boundaries on the internet, and it's for us, I think we're all true believers in that free trade and kind of reaching out to customers all around the globe and building teams and building companies together, whether it be a co-investor from England or Switzerland or somewhere else. I think that's really what interests us all, and we're all about like bringing these barriers down, actually, and I think the European Union and the Commission with a single digital single market and all these efforts are really clearly pointing into that direction, and of course it's not in our interest that this stops. No? And so yes, there's a lot of talk about this, but I think the approach we're all taking and the opinion we all have is pretty much aligned. Yeah.
And watch this space, because the European election's ahead as well, so
yes,
it's all
exactly.
shifting again.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Absolutely, thank you.